This is the Untold Italy Travel Podcast, and you're listening to episode number 84.
Ciao a tutti and benvenuti to Untold Italy, the travel podcast where you go to the towns and villages, mountains and lakes, hills and coastlines of Bella Italia. Each week, your host, Katie Clark, takes you on a journey in search of magical landscapes, history, culture, wine, gelato, and, of course, a whole lot of pasta. If you're dreaming of Italy and planning future adventures there, you've come to the right place.
Buongiorno, ciao, hi everyone. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying life wherever you are. I have absolutely loved seeing and hearing about all your trips finally coming into fruition after the longest pause in your emails and in our Italy Travel Planning Facebook group. Keep them coming. Of course, over in our Untold Italy Insiders private online piazza, it's been such a joy seeing our friends in Italy finally welcome guests back to their special parts of the boot with open arms and big hearts on our regular live chats. We've loved our special tour of Holly and Gianluca's garden in Capri and hearing all about Liv's experiences in Verona going to see the opera last month. In August, our members are learning about the Pinot Grigio wine, taking a magical virtual trip to Venice and discovering the secrets of Rome's Trastevere district. It's going to be so much fun and we'd love to see you there. As we wait to return and finally go to Italy, it really is the most fun and best place to learn about all those insider secrets that make your time in Italy so special. To learn all about how you can sign up to Untold Italy Insiders, head on over to untolditaly.com/insiders for all the details. So on to today's episode, where we are heading back to one of your favourite spots, the Amalfi Coast. Now, for most of us, a trip to Italy is a major endeavour, both in terms of time and money. And, if you're going to the Amalfi Coast, you want to make it worth your while. Did you know that it takes over 24 hours door to door to get to the Amalfi Coast from where I am in Australia? So it's no surprise that when we get there, we really want to make the most of it and perhaps celebrate a special occasion. Now more than ever, I think the time is right to do that. I'd always dreamed of an Italian wedding, but even though my husband's family is Italian, for a variety of reasons, including living in Australia, it wasn't possible at the time. So now I am scheming a milestone birthday celebration of my very own in a few years' time. It involves a huge villa, my family and friends, and feasting for hours. I haven't decided where yet. I keep changing my mind, but that's about as perfect as it gets for me. Everyone is different though, and our guest today decided she wanted to celebrate her 50th birthday on the stunning Amalfi Coast in a slightly different way. Karen Salter fell in love with Italy in her 20s, and despite a few trips back since then, these birthday celebrations helped her reconnect with Italy in the most beautiful way. I'll let her tell you all about it. Benvenuta, Karen. Ciao, and welcome to the Untold Italy podcast.
Thanks, Katie. How are you?
I am great. I'm great. It's so great to have you here. Now, Karen, we are going to be talking about your wonderful trip to celebrate your milestone birthday to the Amalfi Coast. But I thought first we could hear a little bit about you and your background and how you came to fall in love with Italy.
Yeah, sure. Well, I was a design student in the 90s and went on a travel. Well, I was always, passionate about art and design and went on a study tour to Italy and went to quite a few places there and I sort of fell in love. I mean, I loved the whole idea of Europe altogether. And then when I was a backpacker in the early 90s, I ended up learning Italian in Florence for a month and staying for a bit longer. And then that was basically when I decided, this is the love of my life, really. Don't tell my husband that.
I feel the same way, but then I went on to marry an Italian, as you know.
Well, I tried, but it just didn't work.
Oh, no. Oh, so you were in Florence, and it must have been a really magical time for you, and obviously it made a huge impact on your life. And I know you just kept dreaming of Italy, didn't you?
I did. I had really wanted to stay in Italy, and I'd met lots of local people in Firenze, and I sort of was trying to work out ways of staying, but just for other things in my life, I couldn't stay. So I came home and ended up spending the next, oh my God, it was until 2014, hadn't been to Italy for various reasons. And then it was the right time to return. And so I took my husband, who hadn't even been to Europe ever. So yeah, that was sort of blew my mind. And our two young boys, and we went to England and France, and then we did a sort of, I call a whistle stop tour of Italy, Venice for 2 nights, and then Florence and Rome. And actually, I just thought, oh, I love it. I still love it. It might be much busier because it's
Yeah.
like insane how much busier it is compared to when I was first there. So then for my 50th birthday, I said to my husband, what I really want to do is go to the Amalfi Coast. So I organised a trip for him and I to go. So this is the first time we were away from our kids for, 2 weeks or something. So, yeah, we did it.
Oh, that's so exciting. And I know, I think it's a really important thing to mark these milestone birthdays with something absolutely fabulous. And you really chose something amazing. Now, what really intrigued me when you wrote me a beautiful message emblazoned with lemons, by the way, everyone.
Yes, I thought, well, I'll add, that's the artist in me.
Was that Karen chose to do a self-guided walking trip in the Amalfi Coast. And I think this is really different and unusual. I really wanted our listeners to hear from you about this trip. And so I was wondering what interests shaped this trip. Why did you choose to do this type of trip?
Well, I personally could walk around cities and go to cafes and restaurants and art galleries and museums, and I would be very happy. And gardens. I love gardens. And I do love nature, but my husband is very active, physically active, and I sort of wanted to choose something to do that we could do together that would cater to that sort of love of the outdoors and walking, activity really to keep moving. So we liked the idea of a self-guided tour because we didn't want to be bound by the tour group scenario. And we were sort of confident we could do it, although, and we did it. And we used a great company that actually we didn't have to carry all our bags. So that's the reason why I guess I chose to do it self-guided, but it was organised. All the accommodation and moving our luggage was organised by the actual tour company.
Oh, that sounds very civilised. I like this idea.
Yeah.
So maybe you can talk us through the itinerary. First of all, how many days was it in the Amalfi Coast there?
So there was actually the actual itinerary of the walking tour was 5 nights. So we were getting met in Salerno, which is sort of a major town south of the Amalfi Coast, I guess at the start of the Amalfi Coast. And so they had a driver to pick us up and then take us to Ravello, where we were going to start walking the next day. The idea was to walk every day and stay at a different place every night.
Oh, that sounds lovely. And how much walking would that be each day, roughly?
We had options to do sort of shorter walks or longer walks. I can't remember distance-wise, but the first walk, which was meant to be from Ravello to Amalfi, was about 5 hours of walking, maybe between 10 to 15 kilometres.
Wow, that's a decent walk, and I hope it was downhill because that's a very steep. I've driven up there and I wouldn't want to walk up it.
Yeah, well, we walked from well, you can go on a shorter walk. They had an option for a shorter walk, which was just down the stairs, sort of more of a straight down hour and a half walk. But we really liked the idea of going through the Valle de Ferrere, I think it's called. It's like a national park. It's very, very kind of rugged. The paths weren't rugged, but the landscape was quite rugged, sort of going away from the sea. So it was really interesting. And then also, like in the beginning, from Ravello to Scala, it's a town just on from Ravello, we walked through, past beautiful, lemon groves and houses and farms and what have you. And then we got into this quite like a bushwalk, what we call a bushwalk in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a nature walk. None of that walk was very uphill, no. And then eventually downhill.
And would you say, at the start, were you feeling confident that you could, do it? And how fit did you think you'd have to be? And do you think you were prepared?
Well, you had to have quite, a good level of fitness. Like both of us, are always exercising, but not crazily, but I guess keeping a good level of fitness. We did and I did in particular, try to walk extra before I left. And it was all pretty much on paths and, it's not like rock climbing or mountain climbing or anything like that.
You didn't need your carabiners to get to scramble up a rock or anything like that.
No. But, and also the tour company gave us maps and directions as well. So a little booklet with directions. But I guess the one thing we weren't prepared for was that hadn't really sorted out a GPS just in case we got lost or what we would do in case we got lost. And on the first day we got lost.
Oh, no.
And it had started raining and we're in this forest and we're going, we don't know. We should have seen the old farmhouse by now. So we actually did panic a little bit and thought we were going to spend the night in the forest. Because we'd actually, the mistake that we'd made was that we had started the walk too late in the day.
Oh.
Because there was things to see in Ravello. So there was a market on and, you've got to look at the market. And
of course.
There was a building I wanted to have a look at and stuff like that. So, yeah, so I guess I would start the walks earlier and be prepared with at least know how to read a map properly. I mean, I'm good with directions, but when you get into the forest, and we didn't realise, that we should be following these sort of the red and white markers or whatever. So anyway, it all sort of worked out. We managed to find our way because we freaked out more than we were lost, if you know what I mean. Like we weren't, we were on paths and we could actually see the sea, but, it was just quite daunting to think, how do we get there?
Oh my goodness, I can see it now. Like it is scary. I don't think you can do too much preparation sometimes. It's a really interesting thing. I think probably all our listeners would know I'm a bit of a type A control freak when it comes to planning. but it's important and some things you don't miss. But the other thing that I do love about this story is that you figured it out and everything was fine.
Well, we really did have a moment of panic because it was sort of 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it had started raining, not pouring, but it was raining, so not perfect conditions. And we couldn't really get any reception on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
So we did find a place to get reception and then rang the person from the tour company and they couldn't really help us too much because we didn't know, where the GPS was. And I think maybe one of our phones was, of course, running out of battery or something. In that way, we were a bit unprepared because I think we assumed that it would be incredibly clear which way to go, but it wasn't. It probably was, but we probably...
Well, you get caught up in the moment as
yeah.
well. And, this Ravello is so beautiful. There's no doubt that you would get caught up in that beautiful place. And it's really, it's just, I think people often miss Ravello because it's a little bit further south, but it's an absolutely stunning place, isn't it?
Oh, it is absolutely stunning, beautiful village. And we got there the day before we started walking, and we went to Villa Cimbrone, the villa, which actually we didn't really see the villa itself, the hotel, but the gardens are just extraordinary, especially for the view over the Tyrrhenian Sea. And it was a beautiful day. So it was our first day on the Amalfi Coast, and we stood on that cliff overlooking the sea, and you could see Capri, in the distance, and so magnificent, and the blue of the sea.
Yeah, you can't really. It's a definite colour of blue, isn't it? It's an azure, and it's just bright and stunning. What time of year was it, Karen?
Oh, so we went mid-May, so springtime, and so we generally had good weather, but there were some rainy days, so it was a bit cool for my liking. I like it a bit warmer, so but we didn't want to go, obviously, in the height of summer and when the Amalfi Coast was really busy. So, and May suited us. I think next time I'd like to maybe go sort of end of summer when it's still warm but not as busy.
Yeah, I know. It would be beautiful. Then you've done all the walking, so you can just relax then.
Yeah, that's true.
Although there are so many amazing, amazing walks in that area. It is really a stunning part of the world to go hiking in. Now, so you ended up in Amalfi on the first night, right, of the walk. And Amalfi, it doesn't get the celebrations that Positano has, but it is a lovely town. I really like it. And, what were your impressions?
Well, look, I mean, we got there quite late. 5 o'clock or something. We were just glad to get, and that the good thing about the self-guided tour was that we had our accommodation waiting for us and our luggage, and a very nice hotel overlooking the water. Well, down on the waterfront actually, and Amalfi is really. It's gorgeous. I think it's gorgeous, but it's not as spectacular as some of the other towns. But we had dinner in front of the Duomo there, and I bought some beautiful handmade paper so that they make, because that's the tradition there of making handmade paper. There used to be a lot of paper mills. So, yeah, I think Amalfi, I think we were just glad to get there.
I can imagine, and then you probably would have been starving as well, no doubt, because you've been up on that hill for 5 hours.
Oh, yeah, well, I can't even remember. You see, that's the thing. I've blocked out the food situation, although my husband is really good at organising food. Like when our kids were smaller, when we went out just locally, he'd prepare all the food. So we did have food. We had a good amount of snacks with us, food and snacks with us. So that we were definitely prepared with that. I don't think we were totally starving when we got to Amalfi. And to be honest, I remember where we sat, but I have no idea what we ate. It is a few years ago now.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. I mean, it is a beautiful environment, that little piazza there, and there's actually a really good cake shop there. That's what I was.
Oh.
So maybe for next time.
Yeah.
And then the next day you continued on your trek.
Yes. Next day was really nice weather, and we went on this. It was a much more accessible walk, I guess. It was through the farms sort of and lemon groves, and so through rural area on stone pathways to this gorgeous little hamlet, I guess it's called. I can't even recall any shops there really, or many. Conca de Marini, and stayed at this hotel that had my dream kind of pool, the pool that is on the cliff overlooking the sea. So it wasn't super warm, but we did manage to lie by the pool for an hour or so and get a bit of sun and
soak up the views.
Yeah, but it wasn't really hot enough for that.
I guess it depends on what you're used to. We can get some pretty hot days here, but I think it would be around early 20 degrees, wouldn't it? Celsius probably at that time of year, or maybe even a little bit cooler.
Yeah, it could be a bit cooler. I mean, it fluctuated, but when the sun comes out, yeah, it's around 20 degrees Celsius. Yeah,
which is probably great for walking, but maybe not for sun lounging.
No.
Conca de Marini is it's a beautiful little town, isn't it? It's just,
it was gorgeous.
Yeah, again, not many people go there.
No, and that night we went for dinner. We walked down through the sort of little houses, and it was so quiet because at that time of year it seems very quiet, not many people around. And we walked down to the little beach there, and there was a restaurant there. So it was actually just us at this restaurant on the beach. So that was gorgeous too.
Oh, beautiful. In fact, it can be there, and I don't know what it was like when you got to Positano, whether it was busy, but you can be these smaller towns, they don't get a lot of traffic actually, because most people stick to they stick to Amalfi and they stick to Positano. So there's all these little gems waiting to be discovered that if you just, go a little bit out of your way, or you do a little walking tour like this one, then you can find them and have this beautiful sort of serene experience enjoying the beautiful coastline.
Exactly. It was perfect, really. It was really beautiful.
Now, tell us a little bit about this company, because it sounds like it's a really great way. I like the idea of not carrying stuff everywhere and having it a little bit luxe, but having that walking nature experience at the same time. What was their name?
Their name's Hidden Italy. It's an Australian company, and I just found them online. As I was researching walking tours of Amalfi, and ended up liking the sound of them. And it's not a cheap thing to do, but it was reasonably priced, compared to some. I know I was looking at American companies and English companies, but everything happened the way it should have. Maybe I think the maps that we got a really good geographical map that they sent. The booklet we found a little bit confusing, I guess, to follow, but generally all okay. And they have a contact person in Italy. Or actually, I think they've got several, but for our tour, we had a contact person's name, and she was really lovely. And we didn't meet her, but she followed up. Did we get there? She was worried about us when we were lost. Yeah.
After the phone call. But I mean, I think that's really important as well, because, I've been lost here in Australia, and you kind of know what to do. But, when you're in another country and you're lost, it's a bit scary, especially if you don't speak the language fluently. It's good to have a contact point, I think.
Yeah. She was very good, actually. And they organised. We had a car waiting for us when we got off the train in Salerno, for them to take us to Ravello, and in between there was another place I really wanted to stop at and see, another town, and they said, yeah, sure, no problem. So the driver took us there, and then we went on to Ravello, and then on the way back we finished our tour after 5 days with Hidden Italy, but then we went over to Capri, and they even, on our way back, picked us up from Naples after we'd gotten off the ferry that I'd organised, and the Hidden Italy driver gave us a lift to the station.
Oh, that was lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were really good like that. It just made it, because my husband and I love walking and doing those walks, but, I don't want to be carrying 7-kilo backpack or 10-kilo backpack. I can't do that.
Oh, no one wants that on their beautiful Italian holiday. And plus, it sounds like you did a bit of shopping on the way, Karen, so you need to
don't do too much shopping, but I do like to buy. Actually, I've listened to you before, and I do like to buy something that's special from the place that I go to. So,
well, I know you visited the ceramics factory.
oh yes, this was the place I wanted to stop at between Salerno and Ravello. It's called Pietre sul Mare.
Yep, Pietre sul Mare, yep.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous town. But there was this actual ceramics factory that I wanted to stop at because it was a crazy looking building that I'd seen on the internet, that I wanted to actually more to see the building than the ceramics, although the ceramics were gorgeous. But the building, I always forget how to say it in Italian. Ceramica Solomene. Beautiful, like really interesting building, decorated with the ceramics, built in the 1950s, and it's their factory. And then, so we stopped there. The building's worth seeing, and the ceramics are really those typical Amalfi Coast ceramics. It's gorgeous. I just kept taking photos. You know, my husband and the driver were like, how many photos? How many photos can she take?
You can take a lot, and I'm sure you took heaps on this trip. Thousands, I imagine. I've actually got, I think I've got over 200,000 photos of Italy. I'm not joking.
Oh, that's incredible.
It's embarrassing. I need to sort through them, actually. If anyone knows of anyone who's volunteering to sort out photos, they can do my photos for me.
I know. Well, I take photos. I take a lot of photos of buildings because I, have a passion for design, and I also take a lot of photos of beautiful flowers and animals. Like we saw the cutest puppy dogs and goats, as we're walking.
Oh, Karen, you know my thing about baby goats, don't you? I have a thing for baby goats. I love them.
Oh, my gosh. Well, then you definitely have to go walking in the Amalfi Coast, especially the best walk that we did the highlight was the Sentiero degli Dei, and that was from between Praiano and Positano, and it's the pathway of the gods, and it truly is. And there were tons of goats there. And goats on these incredible rocky mounds that you can't even understand how they could climb up there.
Oh, I know. They were pretty amazing. Now, this is a really popular walk to do, and you don't have to do it, it's not a multi-day walk, is it? You can do it in one day. And how did you find it, though?
Well, actually, we wanted to do it the way that we were meant to do it. We'd actually had to go back to do it because the day of our tour, it was raining and it was just not a day to do it. And the next day was perfect weather. So we actually started in Praiano, which is another small town just before Positano. And we walked up and up and up really high because Praiano is quite close to actually it's still above the sea, but not as far as the pathway of the gods. So we started in Praiano, so we had about an hour uphill walk.
Oh.
Yeah, but you don't have to do that because you can go from...
To Nocelle?
I think do you walk to Nocelle? There's Pomerano.
Pomerano, yeah.
Pomerano is where you start if you don't want to do that big uphill walk. We wanted to do it because we thought it would be interesting, and it was amazing because as we were walking, we saw a man tending his garden, and I speak a little bit of Italian, and so I said, "Oh, your garden's beautiful," and we started talking, and then I asked him because I knew we were sort of like this is close to the start of the walk. Oh, did he know where I could, go to the restroom? And he said, no, there's nothing around here. And by the end of it, he took us up to his special little summer garden with a little summer house, and he let me use his bathroom and showed us his beautiful tree with lots of different things hanging off it, like little teacups and shiny things, and it was incredible. So that was actually a very special, non-touristy kind of experience. And then once we made it up to join on to the pathway of the gods, it became a lot busier. On the way up, we saw no one. And then so we sort of met it just past Bumerano, I think. And then it became quite busy compared to all the other walking that we'd done. But absolutely stunning. It's breathtaking. It's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It's so beautiful.
So it took an hour to get up from Praiano up to Bomarano.
Yeah.
And then so from there you walked down to Positano. And had you seen Positano yet, or you hadn't seen it yet?
Well, firstly, we stayed a night in Praiano, and that where we stayed, the hotel, we had a view, a little balcony and a view across to Positano. So that was pretty stunning. And then the day we were meant to do the walk, it was raining. So we actually went into Positano and had a look around, and we stayed the night there. And so when we came back, we'd already been there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because of the rain, yeah.
Yeah, because of the rain, we sort of backtracked, I guess, on our walking. So we sort of ended up catching some transport to Positano on the day that we were meant to walk there, spent the night there, and then the next day we got the bus back to Praiano, walked up to the pathway of the gods, and then we ended up not walking all the way into Positano because we needed to catch the last ferry to Capri. So we finished the walk in Nocelle and then got the bus down to Positano.
Oh, okay. Wow. And so it was one of the best days of your life. It was like this amazing experience. And how hard is the walk? Because I know a lot of people are interested in doing it, but they might think it might be a bit too hard for them. Or
I think you definitely need to have a good level of fitness. I mean, not be Superman, but, good level of fitness, and be kind of stable or used to walking on sort of uneven path. We did take walking poles with us.
Okay.
But there were a lot of people doing that walk. They hadn't walked up walked up an hour and done days before us. And so there were other people sort of just walking along. But the path can get quite narrow and very steep looking down. I mean, it's very high up. But, I mean, I guess if you're really worried about heights, it might be challenging. But it's not like you're clinging to the edge or anything like that. That was the whole good thing about having all the accommodation organised and not carrying your bags, so we could, enjoy the walking and then also enjoy being in a nice hotel in a nice, beautiful town. But that walk, the views were just really to die for. I mean, incredible. The countryside's really green and the water is that, incredible blue. And then you see Positano too, which is, fabulous.
And there's a reason why it's on the UNESCO World Heritage List. It is actually spectacular and it is so beautiful. And what a way to finish that day, to get the ferry across to Capri. Oh, my goodness.
I know. And actually it was like we had a private boat because it was obviously it wasn't the height of summer, it was early spring, and we were catching the ferry over at the end of the day when most people would be catching the ferry from Capri back. There was just us and these two other passengers, these young Italian boys, young Italian men, and us and the crew on this quite large ferry. So that was like having our own private motor yacht. No, not really, but it was pretty good.
Oh, I love it. Well, I mean, in fact, my friend Holly, who lives on Capri, she actually suggests that people stay on Capri and do the reverse day trips, because most people do the day trip from Positano to Capri and not the other way around. But, you stayed on Capri, which Holly also suggests, for 3 nights. And tell us a little bit about that, because I know people would love to hear that.
Well, I guess I'd always seen images of Capri, glamorous images from the 1950s, 60s and 70s, of glamorous people and living the life like that. So it was somewhere that I always wanted to go to, plus the landscape itself. I just love there's something about that, the rocky landscape with the green and the blue sea, just so attractive to me. So we could have continued with Hidden Italy and got them to book us on Capri and do more walking on Capri, but we decided to get an Airbnb or that kind of thing, and it was gorgeous sort of accommodation in a more rural area it was sort of more just outside of Anna Capri, which is the town up on the hill, not Capri town.
Yeah, on the other side, yeah.
Anyway, and it was we wanted to do something a little less fancy, and then staying right in Capri town. And we stayed in this gorgeous property. The woman who owned the property and her husband lived there in a house sort of further down the hill, and we stayed overlooking the sea. We had a beautiful terrazza, terrace, so we could actually, because after you've been travelling for a while, we kind of like to be able to make our own food, not eat out every night, and also just to kick back and relax a bit. So it was great. It was great. The only disappointment there was that we thought we could use there was one day that was really warm, and they had a sunbaking terrace on the roof of where we were staying, but the pool wasn't open yet for the summer. So that's something I think is quite common
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They don't open them often until maybe mid-May or late May, or even June. So you have to sort of check. It's called a seasonal pool, but I guess there's a lot of maintenance that goes around it, so they choose not to do that so much. But what were some of your favourite things to do on Capri? Because it is such a beautiful place.
Well, one of the funniest things was going to the Blue Grotto because we were staying quite close to the Blue Grotto and we really did want to see it. So we actually walked there, then had to line up on some steps sort of on the, rocks going down to the Blue Grotto, and at the same time watching all these other boats and people trying to, go into the Blue Grotto, which is, in those rowing boats, and you have to sort of duck down depending on the tide. Yes, it was just a funny thing. And then we waited for about half an hour or something to get in a boat. Then you go into the Blue Grotto and you're squashed into this boat with other people you don't know, which would never happen now with COVID. Then you're in the Blue Grotto, but there's 100 other boats in there, and all the different captains of the boats are all trying to sing and do this. It was crazy. And our boatman was not very nice. But then at the end, he really expected my husband to give him a tip, but he'd been so grumpy and not very nice. And my husband was trying to get his backpack out of the boat, and the man wouldn't pass it to him until he gave him a tip.
Oh my goodness.
It would have been magnificent once upon a time, I think, to go into the Blue Grotto. But I think it's one of those places that are really
it's a bit overdone.
Yeah. And we weren't there even in the height of summer. So I can imagine in the height of summer, it must be insane.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing because actually all around, I don't know if you got to go on a boat trip around the island, but there's actually heaps of little grottos that you can go in. Like there's the Emerald Grotto and I think the White Grotto and, so, I mean, I actually haven't been in the Blue Grotto because the tides weren't right and the seas were a bit too choppy on the day that we were there. But, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Maybe there's different places you can explore that you'll get maybe a similar experience that don't have that sort of ticket on them, so to speak.
I think so. I mean, the colour was really stunning, but it was a bit of a crazy experience. We had gone to, there's an Emerald Grotto near Conca de Marini, and so we had gone there, and it's very much quieter. Obviously not blue like the Blue Grotto, but still pretty stunning.
Yeah.
But on Capri, I think the other thing we did, which was really great, was we had enough walking, so we caught the chairlift up to Monte Solaro, I think it is. And you get an incredible view of the Faraglione rocks and all of Anacapri and Capri, and the chairlift is basically very old-fashioned.
I couldn't do it. I'm not good with heights.
Oh, really? One person per chair, but it's gorgeous to see. You actually go over farms and the homes of Anacapri. So that was pretty great too. Although the weather wasn't, we sort of managed to get a view of the Faraglione rocks, and then the cloud. We were covered in cloud, actually.
Oh, right. I mean, it is quite high up, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a mountain. So
yeah, exactly.
Oh, now listen. You also went to one of my favourite places, Cartuja, to get some. So this is a beautiful perfumery, and they make some absolutely. If you like perfume, this is where to go. And I wear my Fiori di Capri perfume every day to take me to Capri.
Absolutely, I put mine on this morning because we were going to be speaking today. Oh, it was incredible. It's the most beautiful store. So we went one day into Capri town, and then we went to the what was that?
Giardini Augusto, the garden.
Yeah, Giardini di Augusto, and found Cartuja on the way back. They have tried on different perfumes, and it was all so beautiful. I just didn't know which way to go because in the end I did buy the Fiori di Capri or whatever, the special Capri fragrance, and I bought some beautiful as presents, some beautiful lemon shaped soaps and
even the packaging is gorgeous, isn't it?
The packaging, I actually we went in 2016, but I literally still had the box because I couldn't throw it away from the perfume.
Yeah.
I hung on to it because it is so stunning.
Oh, it's everything about it. They just put so much care and attention into everything that they do, and I just think it's one of those really special things about Italy that just makes it even more magical to me anyway. Oh, Karen, that sounds like the most amazing way to celebrate a milestone birthday. I think you did a very good job of celebrating. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Were you happy with it all?
Oh, yeah. I think the only thing I would change would be next time I'd do it in slightly warmer weather and more time. That's the only other thing, is that we saw a lot, but there's never enough time. I would have liked maybe 2 days in each place and walk one day and explore one day. But, next time, hopefully.
Next time. Well, where will you go to next? As soon as we can.
Well, as soon as we can. I think Florence is, really a place close to my heart. So I'd definitely go there. But then I really want to explore some more Italian beaches. So I like the sound of the Maremma in Tuscany, the Tuscan beaches. I have been to a beach there years ago. Well, 30 years ago. But I can't decide, Katie. And also it's just too many places, especially since I've been listening to all these Italian, podcasts about Italy, and I don't know. I think Florence and then Sicily and some other beaches in between. I mean, Puglia, and then I have never been to the Lake District, the lakes. So,
it sounds like you need to just block off a year and just go.
Well, my younger son will be finished school in a year, and then I'm hoping I can do something like that.
Job done. Celebration.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh, Karen, this has been such a lovely chat, and I know our listeners would love to connect with you. How could they do that if they wanted to?
Sure. Well, something we haven't spoken about at all is that I'm an artist. I have an Instagram, Karen Salter Art, that is really an Instagram page for my artwork. But I do post other things occasionally on there as well, but mostly my paintings. Or I've got a website link. I'm still working on my website 6 years later. But that links to www.karensalter.com, links to a Facebook page that also sort of has my artwork on it. But any questions, I'm always happy to talk about Italy.
Oh, it's so amazing. Did you manage to actually do any painting while you were in Italy at all? Or
I did a bit of drawing, but it was really because, we had, I think it was less than 2 weeks and, on the move pretty much all the time. And especially once you come from, I'd actually had a week before my husband got there. So I'd recovered a little bit from the jet lag coming from Australia, but he really had to hit the ground running. So it was very fast and not a lot of time because we didn't want to leave our kids for too long. And so, no, I did drawings, but, the occasional drawing, but that's about all. One of the other things I just would dearly love to do is do an artist's residency in Italy. Yeah, painting in Italy.
Sounds amazing to me. Oh, my goodness. Hopefully you don't have to wait till your next milestone birthday for that one.
No, hopefully next year.
Let's hope so. Oh, grazie. Thank you, Karen. It's been so much fun talking about your amazing birthday trip. I think it's a great idea. Everyone, plan yourself a milestone birthday trip or even a non-milestone one. I think it's a great idea. Thank you so much, Karen.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Katie. Ciao.
What a way to celebrate. I love this trip because Karen really shaped it into something that took in all her interests and her husband's too. As I said at the start of the show, travelling to Italy is a major endeavour for most of us, so it's really important to do what you want to do. If you're not into museums and art, that's fine. There are so many interesting outdoor sports or food experiences that you could take into. Of course, there are the highlights like the Colosseum and Vatican museums that are popular for a reason, but you can also find ways to indulge your at-home passions too. I had a reader whose hobby is woodworking ask me where he could buy artisan-made woodworking tools in Italy. How amazing is that? And yes, of course, there are many historic crafts that continue to this day where those type of tools are in use. So it was a delight to point him in the right direction. If you love perfumes and scents, there are places in Florence where you can make your own with some of the world's finest ingredients. And if you're a gelato lover like me, there's even the Gelato University and Museum where you can visit and make your own. So whatever you're celebrating in Italy, even if it is simply life itself, make sure you seek out the experiences that you think will make your trip truly magical. For information and details of Karen's trip, you can find them in the show notes at untolditaly.com/84. And I've also put details of a similar group trip experience for those of you who are interested in hiking the Amalfi Coast, just like she did. And if you love this episode, we would really appreciate it if you gave us a rating or review on your favourite podcast app. This helps us to reach more Italy lovers just like you and help them dream, plan and escape to the boot whenever they are in the world. That's all for this week. Next week, we're heading back to the mountains. But until then, it's ciao for now.